the latest episode of Severance. Corione, you've been missing from us for a little while. Why don't you give us your thoughts and maybe recap a little bit on what you thought's happened so far?
Well, I want to just say that if your viewers will recall, it was here I predicted that we were going to get a innie and outie space, and this has happened, and we are now seeing some of the fallout from that. Um, we have a totally new-ish sort of environment where we've gotten to see more of people being taken to the break room. We've now know that we have a former Lumon employee running around trying to help people reintegrate. Um, we've got this whole birthing subplot, which seems to be flowing into the main plot. There's an awful lot going on in this episode and a lot to unpack, and it really feels like we're building to something impressive at this point. We're starting to get to that point where, and I think if we don't get it next episode, we're going to get a really big explosive breakthrough. It'll be the one right after because we're building to something huge here.
Definitely,
Thoughts
definitely.
on what they're doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please expand on your on what you think they're doing, because last time they said they were making hatchets, and then now they're just making water canisters. So what's going on here?
Again, I'm standing by my theory that it's not that they're making any of these things. There is some data that they're pulling from the innies job, which I don't think is what they're actually doing, but I think there's some data that they're pulling from there that is vital to something, and that's why this program is continuing to go forward. Um, I almost feel like these guys are like, I mean, test subjects is not really the right word, but like, there has to be a reason why we're doing this severance piece, right? There has to be some sort of reason why we can't have any outside influences on what they're doing. And it seems like the closer we get to finding out why that is the case, um, we're getting farther away from what that thing could possibly be. I still stand by the it has to be something so vital, so life saving that without it, it would be too terrible a thing to consider. So we're willing to sacrifice the potential sanity of a few people to save a whole lot of people. So I stand by that still. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I know we got to be getting closer to it.
Yeah, John and I talked about it, and I started to speculate after episode 5 that they're just more or less rats in a maze. And this episode kind of seemed to continue that possibility. But uh, Lumen is definitely a cult. That now goes without saying. Now that we've seen Patricia Arquette's character basically pray to her ancestors, or I'm still trying to figure out the relationship dynamics overall. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting. It's definitely taking turns. I definitely don't feel like this is going to turn out to be mystery box writing. I don't think they're going to go for a cheap super cliffhanger on the first season. It'll probably be a bit of a cliffhanger, but I think you're right. I think we're tracking on they're going to have enough of a satisfying explanation that it'll pay off. And I mean, it's already slated for a second season, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good.
I totally agree.
So, yeah, John,
I
please give
completely
us your thoughts.
forgot about this episode and what we had seen. Just this week has been an information heavy week. Sorry, I'm fidgeting over here. I really did not believe that there was going to be such a cult element to this one. I really thought this was like closer in the relationship with like spies and hiding stuff. But you're
Yeah.
right in terms of them. There seems to be a lot of people fighting this group, at least within the city that they're all living. Like anybody who's worked there and got out, even like the people that may have been pitched severance, seem to hate the idea of being even pitched severance. And that to me seems like there's a lot more world building that can be expanded on later, but also like it's already been written. Like none of these characters feel like they're just being thrown in the ninth inning to save the game or save the show. Like they all feel like they timed each beat accordingly, and we're still learning what the song is even about. And I love it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting perspective.
I'm starting to kind of expand on where you're going with this. I really think that we're gonna like if you take a look at the way that people kind of despise this, it really feels like they've really managed to tap into that allegory for certain real world companies where these megacorps where you wind up working for them long enough, you almost kind of despise having worked for them in the past. Right? So I feel like they're kind of pulling into that zeitgeist a fair bit here.
Oh, and if you include the fact that they're Apple, talking about companies like Apple, that's like a meta level discussion going on.
Yeah.
It's like they're acknowledging that their money isn't clean, but they also want to get this story out there, which I think is a really interesting concept, especially where most like media platforms are going. We're going to the more Netflixes and the streams. So you kind of got to pick the devil you like best. But these guys aren't afraid to call them the devil and make a whole show about how devilish they really are. It's pretty cool. It's a great spin on it.
Yeah, the show has definitely been a deep dive into the corporate aspect and really the human psyche when it comes to work versus play. And I think that's what I really have enjoyed about the show most of all is just the fact that this pretty original idea has really keeps you thinking every single week. And the show is like, it's, if you want to compare it to current modern shows, it's pretty mild comparatively speaking. It's not super flashy, it's not full of fancy graphics, it's not violent. I mean, yet. It's had a couple of pretty heavy scenes, but overall it's nice to, it's refreshing to have a psychological thriller that you could just sit down, enjoy, watch, and appreciate. And and it doesn't try to call you stupid in the process. And so I feel this show does a great job of being respectful to its audience still, and I'm just I'm ready for the next episode tonight. So John, any additional thoughts on the show, or carry on? You want to add any new theories, any changes to theories?
Well, I think if I've got any other theories as to what's going on, I think the guys from Optics who are in that back room definitely know more about what's going on, and I think we are due for a little bit of info dump, and I think they would be the perfect way to give it to us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that, Karen. Especially in the terms of the fact that they're doing something more like able to track over the time. So like as things have changed, like they remember making the hatchets and they remember making the water canisters, whereas the Macrodot people that were first introduced to, they only put numbers in boxes. And I think that's going to change our relationship with the company is through that other team.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good thoughts there. I think I don't really have anything new to add myself. I like where the show's been going. I like how oh man, you can just ask my wife. The endings have been getting so much more infuriating. Just, oh my gosh, it's like you're sitting there, you're like, wait, has it been 45-minute credits roll? And you're like, no, I have to wait till next week. You can't just keep doing this to, well, I mean, they can, but come on.
I will be back next week to suffer again, but
I will be back next week, but man, that's why I like the Deep Space Nine hybrid style of episodic and continuity. You have your cliffhangers, but then occasionally you also have your episodes that wrap up in a bow, and I know that's not realistic for a show like this, at least not right now, but it's just keeps pulling with the emotions. So
It's such a good way too. It's like pulling me more towards the individual characters and their lives rather than me just wanting to get to the end. Like, I do want to know what's going on, but I also want to know how Mark's doing.
Right, exactly. And what'd you guys think? Okay, so the big reveal here was the fact that we are now have been informed that the severance process, the transition from work to non-work, is not automatic. It's a manual transmission. If you paid attention to the scene with Dylan in the closet, you can, for some reason, they have a quick clip of a guy letting a switch flip from on to off, indicating that they don't necessarily, it's not a proximity thing. They can literally switch them at any time and in any place.
Not to mention that whole scene with him being switched back from Innie to Audi and his Audi being like, "We good?"
Yeah.
He was so cool with it. Like, he had no problem being put in a closet to be debriefed. Like, he was just like, "Did you get what you needed? Are we cool?" And he was like, "Yeah, we're good. Go."
This is totally
what?
normal.
How can you be okay with that?
Well, I mean, in a weird way, there's like a cool psychological disassociation going on here, right? Like, from the Audi perspective, right? He walked into a closet, then he went to sleep for a few minutes, and he came out, and everything was fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happened to some other person from his perspective, right?
That's just double weird, especially when you remember the part where the child came in before counting to 1,000. Like, he was like, "Count to 1,000, so I have 1,000 seconds to get this across and find my answers, but I know I have 1,000, right?" And then the child came in early, and Innie is like, "What? I have a kid?" And that's where, like,
Milacek,
I forget it.
he got
Milacek.
pissed.
Right. But then, like, even though he transferred him back, Dylan saw Milacek holding his son before giving him to him, and Dylan didn't care. It wasn't like, he didn't think that was abrasive. He didn't even think that was a problem. He was just like, "Are we okay? Like, I'm gonna go back to, it's my day off. Off."
Yeah, my stupid kid interrupted a work meeting, totally normal.
Yeah, he totally took it as a work
Whatever.
meeting. That's a work meeting that he wasn't a part of, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I said, that whole scene alone. I mean, we got a lot of big drops in this episode between Patricia Arquette, going through I guess sort of a prayer type thing to the word escapes me that I can't,
Cure? Cure?
The ancestors there.
Well, she has like a one of those shrine. She's got a shrine set up in her house, and she's praying to this shrine, and it's like, it doesn't give us exactly what's going on because we don't know what her association is with the rest of the company, whether or not she's related by blood or whether whatnot. But she's obviously super dedicated, and I think that scene alone was pretty big to play out. But then them, I'm trying to figure out why they gave us what they gave us is what I guess I'm trying to say. And it looks like that's what notification went off. Cozy Koala, excuse me, has subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Every little bit helps. We do appreciate it. Anyway, back to the show. I'm trying to figure out why.
Acknowledge his comment on Twitch. He said, "Can confirm he shrieks every time."
We got something inappropriate in your windowsill there. Viewers might be offended by seeing pussy on the stream. Behind you, John.
Mr. Mal, you're interrupting.
Anyway, little fur friends, we always love it when they stop by and try to be on our show.
Yep.
Anyway, stupid joke aside, why did they show the switch? Why would you show the actual switch being flipped instead of they could have just left it to, oh yeah, he switches it in the closet. We didn't need to see that clip of them flipping the switch, and yet they gave that to us.
That I do disagree, just because we did have confirmation from I think he's like the angry guy, the other Milacek.
Yeah.
When Mr. Grainer
confirms,
it was an outside hack that unsevered PD.
Reintegrated PD, yeah.
Reintegrated PD, correct. That's the one. Yeah, and like Cobell's like, she gets that confirmation, and so I think that's kind of why they had to show us that little piece, was because like, oh, it is the microchip. Like, definitely the microchip. Like, if you thought it was hypnosis, I thought I was like, with the elevator dings and all that stuff, like I thought that was the thing doing it, but it turns out maybe the ding is to the operator to go, boop, we're changing over. Like, Mark's in, he's dinged, and so that changes him over, rather than it being pure hypnosis. So I feel like they killed a lot of theories in that one scene without actually killing any speculation.
Yeah, they definitely they revealed how the technology works, and it's I just want to make sure, check in from last week, John. Do we have any copyright infringement emails yet for showing a trailer?
That's as of now, no.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if we're getting sound on it, so we should be.
Oh, we should.
Doing all right.
Yeah, no, it's transmitting sound through.
Oh, I just have it all turned off in my head.
Hey,
ears.
Smart. I mean, if you want to do a quick check to make sure there's no problem with that, because last thing we want to be doing is talking to ourselves while just displaying a clip of the trailer on loop. But I think we've more or less covered everything for Severance.
Yeah.
Unless anyone wants to any final thoughts, any anticipation for tonight's episode?
Well, like I said, I think we're going to wind up with a bit of an info dump from the other team. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit more of who the masters behind this company actually are, like whether we're going to get a little bit more of like we're going to get a little bit of a feel on them, like maybe they're, like exactly what kind of shadowy cabal they are, I think is probably what we're going to see next.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to get those weird implications, but we'll see if they're actually, totally evil, or if, as you suggest, it's just going to be some kind of weird moral gray area. It's very compelling and a very thought-provoking show.